Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have another Mattel Jurassic World figure to look at today. It's not too often nowadays that I actually get to find a really cool Mattel figure in the wild. In store, I more often have to purchase them online, but I was at Target just recently and happened to stumble upon the Rhamphorhynchus, the repainted version, and trust me, I grabbed that figure so quickly it is ridiculous because, again, I don't really ever find anything new in the wild too often, so once I saw this, I was super psyched because this and the red Mini-Me have been a very big pain in my butt to try to find. They've been out for probably a few months now, but just never show up in my area, so finding this one, I was super excited. As per usual, it's that same sort of Jurassic World packaging we've had going on for quite a little while with this line, and on the back you can see a few other figures that are included in the line, which would be the Ornitholestes, of course the Rhamphorhynchus we have right here, the Colovosaurus, and that red Mini-Me that I do yet have to find. So without further ado, let's break this out of its box and take a look at it. So here is our Rhamphorhynchus, and I don't really know where to put him because he's a pterosaur and he doesn't stand up. Well, I guess he actually could. So let's stand him up here. Well, he's sort of standing. He's standing to the best of his ability by hanging out on his wings. But I must say that at first glance it looks really nice. Definitely a beautiful looking figure as far as the paint scheme goes. We have reviewed the Rhamphorhynchus in the past, but this new paint scheme I actually think I like quite a bit more than the last one. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at this really nice looking Rhamphorhynchus figure right now. So like I had stated, we have actually reviewed the Rhamphorhynchus in the past. It was that initial version, the original Rhamphorhynchus, so we don't really need to take a look at the actual sculpt of the figure. If you would like to see a more detailed review of that, I will include a link in the description to that initial review. But looking at this version, we're really only going to check out what's new with the figure, and you can see that the body up here has like a nice dark gray. For the primary body, runs out the entire length of the pterosaur's head down the body, out onto the arms halfway, which then transitions to a reddish coloration, which I actually think is really quite cool. And then it runs down the entire length of the tail, which has a little bit of red to it as well, and then down onto the legs. We also here on the face have a nice reddish lower jaw, which helps to give it some beautiful color variation, and I actually do quite love the way that that red plays off of the gray. I think overall the two colorations there mesh so well and look really nice together. You can see that the teeth are painted really nicely actually for being a Rhamphorhynchus when they have those kind of interlocking teeth that are just all over the place. The teeth of this pterosaur by Mattel are really nicely done, beautifully painted, and there doesn't really appear to be any real sloppiness as far as the teeth go. As far as I can see, I mean, for the most part, they look really good. On the inside of the mouth, you can see a nice pink tongue, and you can also see some color variation, like the inside of the skin flap there of the mouth and everything is also painted with that pinkish coloration and given a nice gloss coat to add that extra bit of realism. The eyes are painted with a yellow, and then the pupil I actually think is just the same dark gray that we see here, or it could be a black. It's almost hard to really tell exactly what that coloration is, but I'm thinking it's the dark gray. You can really see it over here actually. But the eyes are placed quite nicely, so that is also a plus. As we come down here onto the wings, you can again, like I had stated, see that the arms transition from that gray then to a red, and the red is the primary color I think of the wings, with kind of some yellow that leaks in certain areas and kind of has a very cool like design to it, but I don't really know exactly how to explain the way it looks. But I think it looks really good. Definitely a very nice, very appealing look for this pterosaur. I think they've done a great job coming up with the paint scheme and also applying it. It is applied very naturally, very nicely, and looks really beautiful on the figure. One thing that I will say is a little bit weird is if you look at the yellow here and the yellow here, it's actually a little brighter on this wing and a little darker on this wing. I don't know why that is. That's a little strange, but it is what it is, I guess. You can also see down here we have a little bit more of kind of that look to the skin hanging out, sort of like the wing almost, but back here on the legs where it would kind of connect right there. And you can see that that is painted with a nice dark red. It almost looks like it's a little bit of a darker tone than what we see there, but it might just be due to the material kind of accepting the paint in a different way. But you can see that that is also painted. And then on the underside, We can see lots of red going on down here. Again, the underside of the wings is just that reddish coloration. There's no alternate color there. We do again have the lower jaw, and you also have that red right here. As well as out here on the tail, you can see that gray runs right through the middle of the tail, but then the outer area of the tail has that nice red coloration as well. Same deal up here on the top. So really, really beautiful looking for sure. I absolutely love the paintwork of this Rhamphorhynchus. There's the Jurassic Facts app if you would like to add that to your collection. But again, an absolutely fantastic looking paint scheme for this newest version of the Mattel Rhamphorhynchus. As far as a size goes on our Rhamphorhynchus, for a wingspan you were looking at about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters, and then for a length of the body of our Rhamphorhynchus you were looking at about the 5-inch range or 13 centimeters, somewhere in that range. As far as articulation goes as well, before we even go to the size comparison, you can see that we've got the articulation of the neck right there, and it moves nicely. Also has a swivel, so you can swivel it around. You also have the articulated jaw, which works really well. You have articulation in the wings, which again can actually swivel, but also can go up and down. You have articulation in the legs, which can allow you then to put your pterosaur on his feet. And that's where the articulation ends. We don't have any articulation in the tail or anything. That's just nice and stiff there. But again, really nice articulation. You couldn't really ask for too much more than that for a pterosaur figure, and Mattel always delivers in the articulation department. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Rhamphorhynchus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our Rhamphorhynchus here, helping to give you a good idea of what the size of it is. Being an Attack Pack figure, you know it's going to be fairly small, and that's exactly what you find here. You can definitely see that it's probably quite similar to the Dilophosaurus over here, and that is because that is as well an Attack Pack figure. So it sticks with that very nice Attack Pack size range. So if you have any Attack Pack figures previously, you'll have a great idea of the size of this Rhamphorhynchus. So this Mattel Attack Pack Rhamphorhynchus repaint is definitely nicely done. Initially, when I had reviewed the first one, I was definitely a pretty good fan of this sculpt overall. I really did like the original Rhamphorhynchus figure, and I still do. It's probably one of my favorite pterosaur figures released from Mattel so far, if it weren't for that Tapejara, which is just absolutely beautiful. But again, it's a really nicely sculpted figure of a really cool pterosaur, and I think Mattel, as per usual, has done a great job of replicating a Rhamphorhynchus here for us to have and love and enjoy in our Jurassic World collections. They've done a great job in every aspect of the detailing of the figure and really provided us with a great sculpted Rhamphorhynchus overall. The paintwork of this, which is the only thing that we're really looking at now because it's the exact same figure as it was last time but with new paint, is also really beautifully done. I definitely love the way they've applied like dark grays and reds to the figure, and I think that this is actually much more appealing than the original Rhamphorhynchus. I definitely like this one a lot more than the last one as far as the paintwork goes, so I think that they really hit the nail right on the head with this one. I think the original one was nice. I really did quite like it, and I like the paint scheme on it, but this paint scheme is much nicer than the last one, and I think suits the pterosaur itself a lot more over the last paint scheme. And all the paint is nicely applied, very naturally applied. Everything does look like body color on the pterosaur. Nothing really looks like paint in any way, shape, or form. And then with the pterosaur, you also have wonderful articulation like Mattel always includes, and they include beautifully articulated limbs, because every time I get a Mattel figure, I really have no problems with the articulation, and they always work so smoothly, stay where they should when you put them in the certain place that you want them, and just overall work wonderfully. So Mattel really has mastered the articulation of their figures, but also done a great job again here with this one on the sculpt and paint. So if you would like to pick this up, I think the only way I can really tell you to do that is to probably head to your local Target, because that's where I found mine. I will try to find a link on Amazon or Entertainment Earth or somewhere that might actually have this in stock, or at least up for pre-order, but I don't know for sure if I can find it. Otherwise, again, check your local Target. You should have no problem finding them at some point, because if I found it, anybody should hopefully be able to find it, because my area gets everything last. So again, make sure you head out. Happy hunting, guys. Find this very cool Rhamphorhynchus, but before you do all that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.